Greetings everyone, this is Brandon with B-Man IT. A question I get asked a lot about is what do bees do during the wintertime? What bees typically do is they cluster inside the hive. Now in here, I noticed that there's a bunch of honey and sugar syrup stores up here in this hive, and down here there was brood. I just checked them a couple weeks ago and they definitely had brood in there. You can see in one of my previous videos it's labeled bombshell brood, but there definitely is brood in here. They're rearing brood, and that was at the end of December, beginning of January, and it's we've had quite a few warm days where the bees have been able to get out and fly around. We also have had the bees bringing in pollen, surprisingly. I don't know where they're getting the pollen from, but apparently there are winter blooming plants in the area. So, but as it gets cold out, what happens is the bees form a cluster, and the colder it gets, the tighter the cluster gets, because the bees want to keep the core of the cluster warm. Now, the bees kind of have a cycle going inside of there, where the bees in the inside of the cluster will vibrate their wings to generate heat, and the bees on the outside of the cluster serve a bit more as insulation. And what happens is the bees on the inside of the cluster rotate to the outside, pushing the cold bees in. And so you have this entire cycle that takes place within the hive. Alright, so as the bees, right now they'll do whatever they can to keep that brood warm, and because that's their next generation. They need those bees to help them especially get ready for spring and that main pollen flow. Now as things get progress, what'll happen is the brood nest portion will expand up here as the bees eat the honey and eat the sugar syrup that they have stored. So what'll happen is you'll have the bees begin to migrate up here. You'll have the brood nest, as we get more into the year, will begin to expand out. And eventually, well, if we were to do nothing to this colony, what eventually would happen is they would swarm. And that's how honeybees naturally reproduce. But we're going to try some measures this year to try to prevent swarming. I'm going to take and add another hive body eventually this year into the center of these two, because I saw some things online I'd like to try and it seemed to make sense to me. But we'll see how it all works out. Alright, again, this is Brandon, and y'all have a good day.